Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Rod, host of Untethered Consciousness. Welcome if it's your first time here. It's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon in Sydney, in Australia, down under. It's probably late in the day for you, or maybe early in the day for you. If you're in the United States, it's going to be getting pretty late at night. Now, I've got Raadenlightenment joining me today by popular demand, except Raad's not here yet. I'm not sure what's happened with him yet. So I just thought I'd kick off the live stream and see if he actually turns up. Hopefully, nothing untoward has happened with Raad, because Raad's a pretty radical guy. So if you're just tuning into a live stream, this is your first time here, let me know in the comments where you're from. Just say hi. I'll give you a shout out. And if you've been here before, say hi, give a shout out. If you're watching this on the replay, say hi and let us know where you're from. I always like to see where people are coming from. So yeah, Raad is I'm just double checking my calendar here. Yeah, we're definitely set for 5:30. So I'll just check my emails to make sure that I haven't missed something from him, or yeah, I've definitely sent the StreamYard address to the right one. So, you know, we'll hang out here for a little bit and then see if he comes along, and if he doesn't turn up, let's give him till 5:40, just in case, you know, he ran into traffic or something like that. Who knows? Who knows what someone like Raad might run into. All right, so it's actually been a while. I used to do these live streams just by myself back in the early days. And my friend Jason Janis, who some of you might remember, he was the very first guest that I interviewed on the channel. He reminded me that I used to do this weekly, and then if there was no one wanted to talk to us, then he was always there and he would come and talk to me. So fun time. So I will say thank you to everyone who has supported the channel. So I think I started back in August of 2023, and if you'd asked me back then, would you have done in 2 years' time, you think you would have done 70 interviews, something like 150 videos? You know what? We're nearly at 20,000 subscribers as well. And I try not to look at the numbers. I try to look at, okay, well, you know, what actual volume of work has been done. And this is just a part-time gig for me. I don't actually, it's not a full-time thing. I've got a full-time job apart from this. So it's limited as to what I can do, but I'm very grateful for all the support that everyone's had for the channel, and also very grateful for all the guests. And some of those guests have been people that I've invited to come on, and others have been people that have reached out and said, hey, you know, can we come and have a chat with you on the channel, which is really good. So I can see one lurker there. If you're just jumping in, say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. Raad is either running late or he's running to some sort of an issue that is unknown. So I thought we'd just give him 5 minutes and see if he makes it. And if not, then we'll have to reschedule our conversation with Raad. He's the only guest that I can think of where there was a number of people that said, hey, we want to hear more from Raad. Can you get him back again? Can we talk to him again? So that's why he's actually scheduled in for this evening. But at this stage, it's looking like something has gone awry with his schedule for whatever reason. So hello to the three of you that are there. If you just let me know where you're from, say hi in the chat. I'll say hi back. We'll give Raad another 5 minutes to see if he can make it, and if not, then that's okay. We'll reschedule him for another day, except for my calendar's booked up until, actually for live streams, yeah, might be right. We might be able to get him back in a couple of weeks so he can talk to us once we figure out what's happened. Let's see. Is that him? No, that's not him. Oh, well. So apparently it was I think it's the equinox. Was it today or yesterday? I've been watching, it's one of my favorite YouTubers. What's her name? Elizabeth April. I don't know if any of you, I'm sure that some of you probably watch her channel. It's very good. She actually lives in Australia. even though she's American, talks about UFOs, conspiracy theories. She's a remote viewer, and she was saying how the equinox is like a time of change for a lot of us. So if you're going through some upheaval in your life, could be something to do with the equinox. The planet, you could say, is going through some upheaval, but this sort of midpoint is a time of change. All right, so okay, so Raad is, he says that he's here, but maybe it's my fault. Oh, actually, all right, folks, Raad's here, but I've given him the wrong link. 9CP. Yeah, that's my fault. G&G. Oh my goodness. I am such a goose. All right, so sorry. Hopefully, that's embarrassing. He's probably been waiting for me there, and I've actually sent him the wrong link. All right, let's go this link, Raad. Send. All right, and then I'll see if I can get on the other link that I sent him and let him know that he needs to be on a different link. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. It's such a goose. All right, so let's go back to there. Now I don't want to exit my studio here because I think it'll actually cause the live stream to drop out completely. So let's see if we can do this without actually. I'll just do this you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm going to do this in a different browser window and see if I can get Raad's attention. Oh, here he is. All right, let's bring him in. Raad, I am so sorry, mate. I provided you, I don't know how that happened, how I managed to provide you with the wrong link. I've never done that to a guest before, but I apologize. But I'm glad you're here.
That's
and we're
okay.
actually, I've been talking to the audience saying, I'm not sure what's happening with Raad's schedule. Maybe something happened. We'll give him 10 minutes. And it was me all along. So
yeah, I was in another. I kept seeing this title for someone else's name, and I'm like, "Is this right?"
Yeah. My apologies, brother. Anyway, it's good to see you. It's great to have you back. There's a ton of people that said, when are you going to get Raad back? Can you get him back? Can you have him on? So, and here you are. How's things?
Everything is fine. Everything is neutral. I've transitioned to the Middle East right now. I'm in Lebanon currently.
You're in Lebanon. So tell us, why are you in Lebanon? Is that where you're from originally?
I have some energetic ties here, but
Yep.
I'm here for a few different reasons. And one of the benefits is every land you go to, there's a different like spiritual effect and different energies you'll connect to. And here it's all a holy land, this whole area. And here you can connect to things in a different way. So that's one of the main reasons I'm here.
Okay. All right. And how long have you been there for, and how long are you planning to stay?
I've been here a little over a week, and I'll probably be here at least another month, maybe a little longer.
All right. Excellent. How awesome is it that you can go, okay, I've got a feeling I need to go here, and you can go there. You can still make a living. You can still connect with people. I think sometimes we take technology for granted, but it allows us to do things like that.
This will be transitioning into the new earth. This is the norm, living this way, like being free, not being subjected to someone else's ruling.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just cover a little bit of the housekeeping. Now, firstly, did you want to, like, because when we spoke before, you kind of did this sort of a clearing thing. I know I've sort of dropped you straight into this from my own inadequacy, but did you want to do anything to sort of settle or clear the energy before we get into it?
I can do something a little different this time.
Okay.
Okay, it's done. This was like
Awesome.
basically The last time I did it with incense, and it's a little slower. You do that in a different, because smoke, it has a different, it's a different element, a different effect. And this time I did it like seeing any, you know, in the Matrix or any movie like that, in a simulation, there's wires coming from somewhere else that are connected. Sometimes you can reorganize if any of them seem too chaotic or are not light, if they're more dense or blocking. So this is why people have to open this, because like these kind of discussions and these kind of energy movements in 3 to 7 years, 1 year, a few months, it's going to start gradually becoming so normal compared to like 5 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, where that's like the craziest thing to say, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's probably not likely that you and I would have been able to have a conversation like this, except for on the very, very fringe, and probably not on a platform like YouTube. Probably you have to stay on Rumbles, something like that. That actually leads me a little bit into one of the questions I had that I prepared for today, which was, how can someone identify when they've got a blocked chakra or chakras, and how can they go about clearing that blockage?
If they're living weeks or months and there's no spiritual enhancement or expansion felt deeply, then there's blocked chakras, because the chakras are here like filters and vortexes to clear out energy and keep things going. So like in a session, usually what I'll do is this here, solar plexus or throat chakra, put a vortex, especially throat chakra, blue vortex in front of it. What that's doing is it's spreading open the energy. It's spreading open and it's allowing them to speak, because this has been blocked, right? Because they've been under the influence or hypnosis, let's use a lighter word, the hypnosis of something lowly that's closed this because it doesn't want this open, and it obviously doesn't want this open. It basically wants everything closed, but what it does is it puts the root chakra, right? Ironically, I'm wearing red today. They put you in the root chakra and they put it hyperactive and put you in a fear state, because in the red in the root chakra is the lowest chakra. So what happens is, if that's most humans, that's their only active chakra. 80% of humans, that's the only one active. And what that does, what they're doing is they're activating it, but it's inverted. So it's not serving the purpose of source or spirit. It's actually planting them into the three-dimensional realm, because it's in such a survival state, lack, fear, eat. You have to eat. And, you know, when you become more enlightened or more enhanced spiritually, you can, like last time we were talking, you were fasting. So you can do these things, and you're not so fixated on eating on an extreme schedule. Like there's more space, because when you're out of that root chakra, the energies are elevating and you're not so focused on these lower three. And then this one is not even active. And the ones who have that only the root chakra, the solar plexus is also closed. That's your confidence, the solar plexus. And they close it on purpose. So if they have all of these inactive and destabilized and blocked, to answer your question, none of these are functioning or moving energy. There's no rotation happening. It's like, imagine something's supposed to be doing this constantly, and then it stopped for years. That's what's happening with majority of humans, and the root chakra is active, keeping them in basically chaos and turbulence, in a very turbulent state, constantly running into the next objective, overstimulated, looking to achieve something that's not even their own decision. It's something that they have unwillingly on this side signed the contracts for.
Yeah. So I've read the Law of One. So there's a series of books called I think it's the Raad Chronicles, the Law of One, and they're talking about how the chakras are really like a vortex. And I think I heard you say that. Did I hear you say that? So do they rotate in a particular? Does the energy rotate in a particular direction? And is it always at a constant speed? And you're saying sometimes it can stop. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I always refer to them as a vortex. And it usually goes from left to right. But you can actually alter that if you want to there's ways of manipulating energy, and not just in this way, so many ways with the body, with creating a multiplicity of cells at once, expanding the DNA, adding DNA strands. Most humans are on 3 or 4, which is subsequently mirroring them in the 3rd dimension, and some get closer to that 4th dimension, and that's why they're on 3 strands or 4 strands. But and the lower entity wants them on that, because if you start to expand to 7, 8, 10, you're getting closer to that Jesus level where he was at. And this is something that they are very afraid of, because if many humans do that, this is why in my sessions, one of the first things I do, one of the things I focus on is getting DNA added to them most of the time, if that's intuitively a priority, because you have so much DNA active. And what is DNA? It's your higher potential to enhance and connect beyond time, and to utilize the body. That's why we have to get it away from just 3 strands. So, the DNA is like the shape of infinity, sideways, right? And then you have these strands on them. But typically, this is going to connect to the chakra discussion. Typically they have 3 and they're spaced out a bit or close. It doesn't matter. But what you can do is make them closer, put them in certain spots, and add more and more, right? So enlightenment, I would say you're typically on 7+. But you have also, the ego can disrupt a lot of this. So beings have to be focused on truth and having space within themselves. Only then can you actually use the body. And then the chakras, it will spin typically, and you can do either direction. I typically do it this way, and it's going to spread outward and inward at the same time, but it's stable and it's creating a spark. But you use color. Color is a major power that's available here for humans. That's why that same entity uses colors with advertising, food, to lower their state. They always use red. They also use yellow, because what are these colors? Do you ever see them like with food or things like that? How rare is it for them to use blue or white?
Yeah.
Or purple?
Yeah.
That's for a reason, because these are the lower chakras, yellow, red at the lowest. They want you there. They click them into that engagement for a reason. But once you start to activate these vortexes with consciousness, because that's consciousness amongst itself, right? Consciousness is everywhere. So when you're activating part of DNA, the cells, the chakras, and there's more than just 7. We just focus on 7 now because this is our starting point. There's some above the body and other places that we will get to eventually. But for now, humans have to focus on what's connected to the spine, what's within the body that we know about. These colors especially, we can only see certain colors, and that's for a reason. Nothing is random. Think about it. If there are a million other options for colors in the universe, if not more, why are we only seeing these 10 or whatever, 20? Why are we only seeing certain ones? It's all aligned with a frequency and a purpose. And most of it has to do actually with chakras, because that is how you utilize your state, how you increase your state.
Right. All right. So we've got a question here from Sophia. Thanks for joining us. What is the best way to start fasting if it's your first time?
I would say start with.
Go ahead.
You want to take this one?
Well, I was thinking I would, but I didn't, and Sophia didn't direct it to anyone. So okay, all right, I'll give it a crack. So the first thing I would do personally, if you've never fasted before, would be to start to extend the window. So from when you last eat, because while you're asleep, it's pretty hard to eat while you're sleeping, right? So it's a good idea to, if you can bring back your last meal, because a lot of people eat like pretty close to when they go to sleep, but you can easily, most people can go a couple of hours before they go to sleep. So there you go. You've got 2 hours, then you go to sleep, and then see if you can stretch out the time before you have your first meal. And before you know it, you're going to have a sort of a 12-hour window. And that's really a fast. And if you're sleeping well, 8 hours of that or so was while you were sleeping. So that's a good way to get started. And that's really like an intermittent fasting kind of regime. And then if you want to extend that, then what I would normally do is just extend from when you first eat in the day. So you've gone through the night, you've 2 hours before you go to sleep, gone through the night, and then instead of like having food at 10, you might stretch that to 12, or you might stretch that to 2 or 3. And before you know it, you'll find it's actually relatively simple to go a full day without eating anything. And then, you know, if you're feeling like that's beneficial, then you might want to try something a bit longer. The most I've done is 3 days. I got sick when I was actually sick the day after I spoke to you, Rad, and I lasted 2 days. But I was still happy with that because it was a full 48 hours.
What kind of symptoms were you seeing once you started feeling?
Yeah, so as far as the fast goes, I was completely fine. Like I was alert. I was not hungry, and everything was going great. But it was the flu. So once my temperature started to rise, then I immediately became very, very hungry, which is kind of weird because normally once you get past that first couple of days, you're good, right? And I thought, I just took that as meaning, well, that's what my body needs, and if I'm going to lick this thing sooner rather than later, then I'll start eating again. So yeah, that's how that turned out. But it was still good. I was still happy, and it was great timing, I think, for our conversation as well.
Oh yeah, you know, so what happened with your body? This is actually normal. So it goes in stages. And your first time fasting, second time fasting, third time fasting, especially more than 24 hours, 48 hours, like once you get to these points is when you start triggering certain effects of things that were layered within the body for many years, they were there, and it starts to come out. So that is 80% chance what happened with you. And that's the body letting go, exuding something that the fast activated. So next time you do it, if you do it, say 3 to 5 days or something, you might notice something physical or mental or emotional or energetic in a different way or similar. That's more coming out, right?
Yeah. I look back because I have a ring, the Oura ring that keeps track of my sleep and temperature, and it was actually 2 years since I'd last had anything that caused a fever. And after I had that, I thought that's great because there's a good chance it's going to be another 2 years at least before I get something like that again, because now I'm immune. You know, there's maybe, yeah, okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. You know, if the body's going to deal with something, then not having any food in your system, just so I can completely focus on, okay, we've got to deal with this. That would be the most effective way to deal with it, I suppose, at least in the early stages.
Yeah, in my book, I had one part that I channeled about fasting specifically, and about digestion rate, percentage of energy used in that process, and for the physical body. And I remember it's a number between, it depends on what you're consuming and human empowerment at that point, but it's typically 50 to 80%.
Yeah, okay.
Of the
That's
energy
a lot, isn't it?
that gets used for digestion. Typically, you're going to spend 50% of your energy, probably more, per day, if you're eating anywhere close to what the world kind of directs towards you. Now, if you start combining things like fruit or adding different things in there, you start to increase the efficiency of how much energy you're spending on the digestion rate, because fruit digests about 8 times faster than man-made food because it's so light. Even though they've adjusted fruit so much too, they can't get rid of that one part. It's very light.
Yeah. So I've got so if you are just joining us, I can see there's a couple of lurkers there. You've got a question for Rad, just type it in the comments. I'll pick it up for you. In the meantime, I've got a bunch of questions here for you, Rad. So actually, you know what? My wife asked me this one the other day. So I don't have any tattoos on me at all. I don't know if you've got any tattoos on your person. And I've been thinking about, if I was to have a tattoo, then what I would have. And the idea of the Kundalini rising, so the snake, that's coils. That's what I imagine in my mind, this snake coiling. And her question was, well, what's that about? And I didn't really have an answer, and I haven't actually researched it, but I'm just wondering, why is the Kundalini rising associated with the snake? It's a common term that I've heard used before.
The spine holds the chakras. The snake wraps around the spine and Kundalini. When you have a Kundalini awakening, when you're first, you could say, becoming spiritual or aware, these energies spark up and you start to have many physical sensations, some uncomfortable, some very ethereal. What this is when the snake is wrangling the body in that way, when it's gripping, the chakras become immersed in something they're not used to, and certain energies go out into the body and the energy field on a psychic level. So you're feeling things. That's what the snake is doing. Now, in this way, the snake is neutral, how we're referring to it. It's not in other ways where we can refer to it symbolically. It's more neutral. It's serving a purpose, kind of adjusting your system. But if you look at it symbolically, you can also say, with that symbol you're referring to, you are aware of the snake. It can't appear without your awareness. And that's why, as an example, one I typically would that comes up is with Jesus. A snake tempted him in the end in the garden, and he had to overcome that voice. And many times in his later years, it kept happening with a snake. There's many reasons for that. One reason is a snake can essentially not leave the ground. What does that sound like? What did I tell you earlier? The lowest plane of existence, where they keep you. Yes, and the snake, if it's really using its venom on you with the chakra system, it serves. What species is a snake? Reptilian. It can serve for them. They can use that energy to adjust your frequency to keep you in the root chakra, because that's the end of it. That's where it's pulling you down, right? So it's actually pulling your energy and gripping you, but in a neutral way, in the law of balance, it actually helps you awaken in that way. So it's all about your perspective. Like, you don't have to look at it so in such a malicious way, the snake, because it does have a neutral aspect in the duality of the chakras. Because if it wasn't for that, the awakening process would not be so euphoric.
Right. So what when you talk about reptilians, I used to think, well, people often talk about reptilians is they're all about service to self, right? So that's they're in it for themselves rather than we're all one. But in your experience, because I know you get to see a lot of entities, are there actually some who are on the other side of the fence? So reptilians who are more about, well, lifting us up and helping us advance rather than keeping us where we are?
There's at least 10%. It could be a little bit more that are benevolent or positive. But how often do we come in contact with them? How often are we directly engaged with them or their message? It's not so much, because they're doing things for more like behind the scenes and on the sides. Typically what you're going to deal with here are the malicious ones, draconian, these ones who like they have the position of a humanoid, but they don't look like they're standing that way. They have the kind of, and they're very tall. And also they have very rigid features. Rigid. They have certain features in the nose, the face, sharp. You'll notice it around you. If you see them, if you have a sense that there's someone around you that's taking that role, it's because they're actually a shapeshifter. Never doubt your intuition on that. But the positive ones, I would say the contrast is they want to, and a lot of them have actually had to leave this earth, go elsewhere, because it's such a displacement. It's a misplacement for them to be here amongst everything going on with the chaos, and then the very dangerous ones who use humans as tools for their own manipulation, their own influence. But there's a few who have stayed, and they can also shapeshift, and they can appear as something that makes you comfortable. The same thing can be said for angelic beings. They can appear as anything, right? But you have to be careful. If your intuition has to be sharp, because that's how you can discern how typically your nervous system and how clear you are will show you. What I'm getting now to the channel is, if it's a disruptor entity appearing as something positive, you're going to feel deep down some chaos in that moment, because it's not a natural alignment to what it actually is trying to represent. It's the coding is off. The mirror is not, the mirror is dirty. The mirror is not clean, right? Everything's a mirror. Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll feel it.
So I wanted to ask you about, so Sophia, actually, so maybe I'll let you take this on. I know these sort of questions are going to be controversial, but I think you like controversy, Raad. So what do you think about that question?
Let me see. Did you? Oh, I see. That's a great question. Yeah. See, this is a very difficult subject for humans because there's so much distortion with that subject, and then the world, and then sickness, being sick, these kinds of things, and then the fear around it. What does that connect to? Root chakra, right? But we know 90%, if not more, these diseases are man-made. But which man made them? Not a human, not a typical human. You see, so these things are all here to put you in fear. So what I would say to this question is, the less, the better. I'm going to keep it simple. That's what my intuition says. The less, the better.
Moving that to that, just do your own research too, and do what you think feels right. I think it's hard to go wrong that way. The other question I had was around our freedom of choice. So my understanding is that the universe is really based on that we have the power of choice, so we can choose one option or another, and anything that impinges on that law is just not allowed. So that's my understanding of it. So I'm just wondering what your take is on that, and then how these other races that are sort of out to influence our choices, how they work around that, what seems to be a very fundamental law.
It's about, your question is basically free will, correct?
Yeah, sorry, free will, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure on the first time we spoke, they come from a different universe, not this one, like a different realm completely. They slipped in through a void. So in that other place, this works to their advantage. In that other place, they don't have the same effects and laws that we do here. This gets very complex, because this is why, and I was actually speaking about this yesterday with someone very intelligent. They asked me about we were talking about if they clone themselves, because we know a lot of these celebrities are cloned, and a lot of these ones, and they have that going on. If they do certain things, the karma that that original soul would have to face can get splintered off into other clones. So this is tying into that question. They know how to do things that were laws that would affect us, with law of balance, karma. They manipulate karma to where they don't fear karma as much, because they can put it where they want it mostly. If they want to put certain aspects of themselves and the consciousness and split it off somewhere else and have that go through something instead of themselves, they can. But it's very complex. That doesn't mean they don't have to go through suffering. They're suffering because they're stuck, right? They won't get out of this, the lower side of infinity, which we spoke about, I'm almost certain. They won't get out of that. They're stuck there. So that's their suffering. That's their karma. But the other effects of their actions, they can use their abilities and esoteric knowledge that they have in that secret society and from the other universe, what they've held on to. And how it ties into free will is, yes, they cannot stop fully, like things like this, what we're doing right now. They can't stop you from continuously creating and speaking and focusing. Your focus is your highest power. Your belief is your highest power. Both of these. They can't, once you become sovereign, once you realize that you're not tied into their play, their script, they can't overtake you at that point. It becomes your own free will. But it's about how much, like, this is the usefulness of going to someone for energy work. If someone comes to me for a session, you're creating space and energy healing to where that process, you reroute yourself. The route you're taking now is inner. So the likeliness of them pulling you back into the play of distortion and claiming you as their tool, as a prop on the stage, right, becomes less and less and less, because you're doing what? The energy work, the focus, right? Because no, like, if people stop investing so much into the play, the world, the diabolical plot in front of them, if they stop pouring their energy, their money, their focus, their time, their space into that, and more inner, more spiritual devotion, that's going to alleviate that they could have done to alter or adjust your free will, your perception of your free will. Because what did I say? Your belief and your focus. So, and your knowledge. So they can't block your knowledge. They can only distract you from it.
Okay. So for those of us who are parents who've got young children, I don't know, this might seem obvious, but I'm just wondering if you ever get people asking you, how can we protect their children from this kind of matrix-like programming that you're talking about that goes on?
My answer may seem a bit extreme, but it's the truth. The first 7 to 18 years, depending on the child. And if you have a child and you have put them in that system, it's not your fault, because the same thing was done to you, and maybe you didn't fully know the severity or the layers of the dimensional damage that system creates internally through external chaos and unconscious surroundings. But what that does, and let me get back to the beginning, the 7 to 18 years is important because the soul has to adjust to the body. The spirit has to acclimate to the bodily experience. So if a parent, let's be neutral. Let's look at it as an observer. If a parent puts their child out into a system, let's just say in this timeline, they've normalized it because the system wants the children to keep that cycle going. If the parent puts the kid out there at 3 or 2 or 3 or 4 at a very young age, sometimes even younger, puts them somewhere else where they're not around, right? Where the parent is not there in that space with them, it's already like the damage is already being done severely, because the damage that entity can do when the child is not self-aware, it hasn't fully connected back with source, because there's a disconnect process. When you get to the body, there's a veil. The job of the parents is to not let the veil get so thick. If I was to simplify this, the purpose of that system is to thicken the veil as much as physically and mentally possible, energetically possible. And they love it. They love creating as much false information. That's why all the history, everything is altered. All of what they teach about numbers is all wrong. They don't teach them the symbolism in numbers. They don't teach you how to see the universe communication. They don't teach you how to connect with your body or your birth, like when you were born. Same with astrology, right? You're also not just signs and planets. You're also connected with numbers, and you have certain ones linked with you. And then the universe speaks to you through signs, and then you can manipulate energy through numbers. I'm sure you've heard of 369, right? So there's so much going on with that. 432. 432 hertz. 432 hertz. What does that equal? 437 plus 2, 9. Did I speak to you about 9 last time?
Mm-hmm.
9 is God. So that's why that frequency is so powerful. And guess what else? 369, 3 plus 6 is 9. Then you have 1 less 9 there. 9 plus 9 is 18, which is 9. So you see how they're all coming to that same place of universal highest knowledge. But what they've done in that lower realm is keep them much lower on the number scale. The chakras, you see how it's all duality of mirroring the outside. They're lowering chakras, lowering the knowledge, lowering the placement of numbers, because they want to keep you at 5 or less, symbolically, I'll say. So you have to realize that that system just wants to block the child from opening their channel. So what you can do as a parent is keep them for 7 to 18 years, depending on their comfort, what their wishes are. So these children, and you also have to know the children will reflect to you higher things, because they're parts of yourself that are more fresh, pure, enhanced. If you did the right thing once you have the knowledge, of course, then they will have more openness and abilities than you did at that point. So they're going to reflect to you parts of yourself that you missed out on. So it's all such a great gift, but you have to give them that opportunity to utilize and enhance their spirit being as much as possible, so that the physical being is fully integrated into that divine, infinite power and knowledge and channeling. So don't let the system close their channel, basically, to make it simple.
Yeah, I feel like, because none of the stuff that I talk about in this channel is talked about, at school, obviously. So I try to make it as everyday part of conversation with my children, because I've got 4, so 5, 7, 15, and 17. That it's all pretty normal. So what we have discussions about, what happens when you die, and what's an out of body experience like, and how does that work? And they kind of, I guess they're kind of used to me having those conversations. I know they're not conversations that they could have anywhere else, but we try to just make it as normal as possible, so that the idea that there's way more to us than just these physical bodies is a it's just like, well, of course, that's the way I would like them to grow up. And so far I think that's what we've managed to do. You spoke about numerology before. I know that you use numerology a lot in the work that you do with clients. So I was wondering, would you be willing to do like a practical exercise? I'm not sure how you use numerology with someone, whether you go with their date of birth, or like, just so we can demonstrate to people like how powerful numerology actually is.
Yes. What's your birthday with the year, if you don't mind
saying? So no, it's fine. It's completely fine. So it's 29 of July, so 2907 1971.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through this instead of going in silence and putting it in how I usually would. So 729. What is
so 2907? So
yeah. So you can skip the 0. So
okay,
so it's the month of 7. I'll do this slowly.
Yep.
The month, and I already got an alignment feature that's very important for you to see. 7, and I know we do it in a different order where I'm from in the world. So 7 would come first. 7, 2, 9. So you put the 2 and the 7 together. That's how I do it. I'm just showing you my way. 2 and the 7 together is 9. And then what's the next number? 29. It left that 9 by itself, 9 and 9. So now you got what? 18. So we're back. What is that? So without your year, you're already on 9, right? So you're already having that higher knowledge. It's already immersing through your numbers. So just remember that. So then we're gonna complete this year, 1971. So what I would do is, remember the 18 is there by itself, right? There's 18 there. And if you really want to make your process simple, let's just short it to 9. It all comes to the same place in the end of the way. So, okay, so with the year left, you got 9. So the year 19. So I would put that to a 1, right?
Yeah.
That's a 1. Then with the 7, it's an 8. And then you got what number left, man? You got a 1 left.
Again.
9. You got 999. So look, you've come to the right place. You're on the right dimensional path. Everything you're doing is great in life, with your direction and everything in your own life and your creation, because it's all 9. 9 is beyond time, higher mind. I am also a 9. My birthday is all 9s. It's like yours, but even a little bit more extreme. But they come to the same place anyway. with 9, 9,
Yeah.
9, 9, everything. The reason that is very purposeful, because this means that you have a direct window to the divine. So you're a 9. You're a 9. That doesn't mean identify as that, but you're like same thing. You're a Leo, right? I'm also a Leo. So we're both a 9 and a Leo. This is an extreme alignment mirror. That's very powerful because Leo is connected with the sun. Leo rules the sun. So you have that solar source power energy. You got the power of 9 and you got the power of Leo all connected. What does that come to? A triangle. That's how I do astrology. And because you look at the houses, the signs, the planets. So the same thing now just happened with numbers and the energy and the signs. You see how it's all linked? The energy of the signs, the numbers, the planets, your placements. You have to look at everything. This is what children will be taught, right? It's 100 times more useful than anything they've been shown in that system. And especially in America, I can't speak about everywhere else. I'm almost certain it's still the same kind of like lowering, but definitely where I am from, I know that it's as low as possible what they're taught. And it's all to disconnect. But what we just did is connect you to something very high. You just literally saw it come your day and month when you put them together, it's 9, 9, then it's a 9. Then you put your year, it's a 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9. So you put all these 9s together and you're straight up at a 9. Always 9 turns into 9. If you have 18, it's 9, 27, 9, 36, 9, 45, 9, 54, 9, 63, 9. How incredible is the universe? Because it's made, and that's one of the first discoveries I had before the knowledge started really increasing within my own knowing and realizing. You have to look at numbers first. God speaks to you through numbers before words. Cool. So like, you know, cool. You're not a 4, you're not a 1, you're not a 7, you're not an 8, you're a 9. That's your body is connected. Your spirit experience and the human experiment and the human experience both is deeply connected with 9. So that's why I can tell you, like right now, I probably talked to you like everything we've ever spoken about. We've probably gone like 6, maybe we've probably gone 7 out of 10. If I went straight to a 10 at any moment, I'm almost certain you could handle it. I'm almost certain you could handle it because it's going from that 9 energy. Does that make sense? So that's your natural space. It carries that format of the number.
Yeah.
The energy.
Yeah. That's kind of like why I had to start this channel, because there wasn't really anybody else that I could talk to about it. My wife is pretty good, but you know, here I get to like, okay, that's cool. We can talk about all these things, and that's completely fine. Now, actually, Sophia has been a very prolific questioner today. Which is more accurate, Vedic or Western astrology? I didn't know there was a distinction.
Yeah, Vedic is India and Western is from the West, from America, these kinds of places. They both hold a value. I would say typically it also matters where you're from, because everywhere wherever someone incarnates, it's purposeful. So you have to look at, like, if you're from a place that uses Western astrology typically, then it's going to resonate with you more, but don't discount Vedic. Then also, if you're from there, don't discount Western. Also, let's not do this in a separation judgment way, because they're all pointing to the same place and they're all parts of yourself. So you might have a different moon sign in Vedic compared to your moon sign in Western, as an example, because it's viewed differently. So like Western, it's viewed like where was the sun, all of the planets in the exact position of the signs, the star systems at the second you were born, right? So one thing parents can do for their children is one of the first things you could do in their life once they're born in the first few days is create their birth chart and always keep it around them. Always let them have access to it, because it's better they learn about the higher and the within, how it's connected, than the lower and the disconnect, the things that are very dense, because this is not dense. Like, this is ethereal, this is empowering. This wants to take their empowerment and make them a worker down here. So this is why astrology is so important, because the planets, the star system energy, that's a great question, by the way. The energy of both kinds of astrology is going to help you understand, like what we just did with the numbers. It's all the same. Either way, you're gathering intel from spirit.
So I was actually, I've got one of my older sons. I was just thinking, it's like sometimes with children, it's like you're looking at something that's completely opposite of you, and then sometimes it's like you're looking at yourself growing from being a child again. And not that one is better than the other. I just find it fascinating that can actually occur. And so my oldest son, he's 13/08/2008. So let me just see if I can do this real quick. So 1, 3, 4. So 13/08. So that's 12.
4.
1 and 2 is 3. Sorry, 1, 3, 4, 12. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you did that really fast, didn't you? Yeah. So here's a 4. Okay.
Yes.
So tell us about 4s.
4, what is a very purposeful word from the universe. Fortune. It has the number in it, fortune. So and what does that also connect to? Jupiter is the abundance planet, benevolence. So it has some of that 4 energy with it. So what is the connection with that? It has benevolence and abundance from spirit, but they have to know how to access their true fortune, because if not, then the world will take the fortune. Does that make sense? It's duality. And there's also duality in what you said, how one child can represent a deep part of like your inner child and another can be like opposition. This has to do with parts of ego and then parts of innocence and how to discern, detach, and heal. So the children carry that part for the parents, but the parents need to allow the children the higher knowledge, the discernment, the spiritual openness to mirror, right? Because the deepest mirror you're ever going to have is not your partner, it's your children.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. after having 4 of them, there's.
And one more thing about 4. 4 is right under 5. 5 is the halfway point. So you got to be careful with the number 4. I like to look at these things in the direct shapes of the numbers. So I told you, I believe, about 7, 8, 9. You know the saying 7, 8, 9, how it eats it, like 7, 8, 9. Have you heard that? Okay.
No.
So
yeah. Okay.
So 7, 8, 9, like it ate.
I've just lost your audio there for a sec, Raad. Isn't that funny? We're almost at the 1 hour point. Okay, we'll just give Raad a couple of minutes to come back, folks, and if not, then we'll wrap it up. This is actually interesting. The numerology side of things is quite fascinating, and Raad actually obviously spends a lot of time talking about it. Yeah, so Raad has dropped out. We'll just see if he reconnects so we can sign off. Where we've got about 5 minutes to run anyway. There he is.
All right.
Hey, you're back. All right. So you were talking about 7, 8, 9. It has 7, 8, 9.
Yes.
I kind of lost you after that.
The power went out. This is a Lebanon thing. So
yeah.
And that tells me I'm onto something, the timing of that. But to adjust it, make it very simple. So under that lower side of infinity is 7. When you go up and down, the numbers on a line. So what is the shape of 7? It's right flat, plane, under 8, and it's dragging the energy lower. Do you see that? If you place them in a line. If you place them in a line, under 8, they're 7, and it's there, and it drags it under. So what's next is 6. And we know what 6 typically symbolizes, right? It can also be looked at as a lower body, lower, like being brought into the lower energy field. Then 5 is it can be a very dark number. It can be used to change. It has the energy of change. It can also be bright for transformation. That's the duality. But then to get to what we're talking about, 4 is right under that halfway point. 5 is about halfway from 1 to 9. 4 is also similar. It's right under 5. So they got to get over that last lower level. Because one way some spirituality is the life path number. If someone is a 1, if someone is a 3, there's a decent chance, it's never always this way, but there's a decent chance that's how many lives they're incarnating. Like they're on a 3, they're on a 4 life, they got to get to 9, right? So this can be spiritually, metaphysically, you can look at this life as your last life. You're a 9. There is no reason, 99% chance, no reason that a 9 should come back here. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't feel like you need to, right? That's why you're accomplishing so much with what you're opening in the energy field and creating, because 9 is the end of it, right? So you've reached your peak of the karmic cycle of the evolution. That's 9. So the thing about infinity and power is it all exists. So if someone's a 4, which is what we were speaking about, the relevance into this, if they're a 4, with the right esoteric knowledge and discernment, discipline, they can jump to a 9, the energy of 9, because it's all available. It's just where are you at and what energies do you have access to? So 4 is actually a very powerful number. Fortune.
Awesome. All right, we're almost at time, Raad, and I've got to go and pick up that son I was just talking about as well. We'll wrap it up. See, there's no more questions. We had a couple at this time of the day. It's pretty late in the States, but I like it because Sophia was the one who needed her questions answered. So I really hope, hopefully, they were useful to you, Sophie. Raad, is there anything that you want to leave us with? Anything that you've noticed that since you've been in Lebanon there, that's kind of been an aha moment for you?
The more you go into places with pristine nature, like America, where most of it is, blocked or covered or disconnected, the more you go into places where there's more intact nature, the more you will connect with the divine in different ways, and you'll have to overcome that unnatural energy that was placed from a place like America, like a construct. Because like what are buildings? It's a construct. It's constructed, right? So what is the construct they put on the mind? The program, the matrix. So the less you get around these constructs and you see more nature, because right now I'm next to a mountain and the ocean, right? This is something you typically can't say in the other parts of the world. And this is for a reason, because you have so much energy around you. They all carry an essence in a different way. So when you go to these kinds of places, you'll be able to connect to source in different ways and make sure you give it space, because your body adjusts to different environments. Especially when you're awakened, you have more sensitivity. So you're picking up on different energies and sensations than you typically would.
All right, that's good advice. Yeah, I always feel, I grew up in the bush, right? So, but it's really only been in the last couple of years where I felt like I have to get away, get out of the city and actually be closer to nature, or anytime, even if it's just a backyard, somebody's backyard where they've got grass, and a tree. It's like, oh, that's great. Get to a park, even better. All right. Well, it's been great having you back, mate. I really appreciate it. So sorry again about the mix up at the beginning. I know these things happen for a reason, but I'm still going to be red faced on that one for a while. I wish you well. Hang on a sec while we just hang up the live stream. Thanks anyone for joining us. If you are watching this on the recording, just let us know where you're from, and maybe we'll see Raad back again sometime.
Thank you.